Rodriguez is Real Race Talk from Texas. It's the Revved Up Sports Show. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
Happy Monday, friends. It's that time again. It is time for hashtag Real Race Talk.
Coming to you from deep in the heart of Texas, side by side tonight. It is the Revved Up Sports Show, hashtag Real Race Talk. Give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter at RevvedUpATX. Like this page as well if you're checking it out on Facebook, if you're on Twitch, YouTube Live, wherever you may be. Thank you for being a part of it. We're super excited, and thank you all for continuing to check out our little program here. It's Bobby Chaffee next to me. I'm Rodney Rodriguez, and Bobby, we move on, and we're into big dirt shows. We still got some pavement racing to go and so forth, but we crown a brand new NASCAR champion. Your thoughts there? Everything that we predicted yesterday in the pre-race show was wrong.
Every single bit of it was wrong yesterday. I couldn't believe how far off our predictions were in terms of how well Chase Elliott was able to elevate it. I think that my quote yesterday was Chase Elliott went from a good driver to a great driver. Not quite sure he's an elite company. Yesterday, he proved me wrong because he came from the back. Now, granted, he did have a little bit of extra help from some of those drivers getting out of the way. There's no doubt in my mind that when the drivers heard that the 9 was coming, they got out of his way. But still, to come from the back to the front and just dominate like he did, that's something that I was not expecting yesterday.
He really did. He put a butt whooping on him, and it really was. It was those 4 guys and nobody else. Had it not been Jimmy Johnson running 5th, I don't think we'd have even talked about anyone else than those guys. And that does make you wonder. I mean, it definitely does make you wonder. And again, there's always a lot of conspiracy theories and so forth, but those guys, though, I think the one thing we did get right, Bobby, was that Denny Hamlin was the fourth best car. He did it again, man.
Yeah,
that
much we totally got right, luckily. But I got to tell you, man, the race itself, even though they said they did it before in 2018 with the top 4 running top 4 all day, I was totally impressed at how well, and it seems like every year at least 2 of the 4, 3 of the 4, not always every 4 of the 4, but those guys just ran up front all day and just dominated that race. People were complaining, they spent too much time talking about the top 4. Well, that's your top 4 were running all day, like you said. They were the ones dominating the storylines. They were there. I mean, it was an entertaining race enough. Could have used a couple of cautions here and there, but for the most part, I thought it was good enough.
Bobby, do you think that? So we see Chase Elliott goes out and wins this, and he's a most popular driver and so forth. Do you think that maybe some of the perception of NASCAR racing changes, especially now that everybody's getting their dirt race? The dirt race is coming back, and I know the road course thing, folks are frowning upon that. But do you think that maybe this, as we have a regular guy, but not really a regular guy. If you think about it, he's had the best of everything on his escalation up to being the Cup champion. But do you think that maybe with Chase Elliott being the champion, that maybe this is just as good as if Dale Earnhardt Jr. would have won something? I mean, do people begin to look at the Cup Series different?
I think they'll look at it a little differently. I don't think that Chase Elliott moves the needle as much as Dale Jr. would have if Dale Jr. would have won, because the difference is you could go to a store and look at a display of Budweiser products and you knew that was Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Right.
Not everybody knows. Within the racing community, everybody knows Chase Elliott, whether you're a short track guy or you're a Cup fan, whatever the case may be. Within the racing circles, everybody knows who Chase Elliott is. Now I think he's got a chance to cross over. It's a younger champion, a very likable younger champion. If you think about it, the 3 champions that won in the top 3 series, they were 22, 23, and 24 years old. So the sport's in good hands. I think it's a good way to come through and make this next generation. As we talked about on the show yesterday, every 12 to 14 years, the sport goes through an evolution. I think we're into that right now. You're going to have a bunch of good kids coming up. When I say kids, I guess I'm old enough to call a 20-something-year-old still a kid. but you got the Chase Briscoes of the world, Austin Cindricks. You still got Chase Elliott. Sheldon Creed did a hell of a job on that restart on Friday night. So, but I think it's going to take a little bit more outside recognition. Chase Elliott needs to be on a few more billboards. He needs to be, Napa's a great sponsor.
Sure.
But you're not going to see a lot of pictures of Chase Elliott outside of a Napa.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's really where you have to have that, hit home, go find your audience, because that's really what's missing. And I used the word yesterday, conduit, where we were talking about trying to tie things together, and maybe this is where Chase Elliott could be the conduit that could tie together short track racing back into local stuff, and that's desperately what's needed. And a lot of that is on that's on the shoulders of NASCAR. I mean, you can talk about your stars and all this other stuff, but it's really up to NASCAR to get back to the roots and try to pull those people in. But if you're going to have a champ right now that's going to be the guy that goes out and gets in front of people and you try to pull people back in, I think Chase Elliott, with his dad, Bill Elliott, I think that this is probably the guy that can do it.
Well, I think so too, but let's go back and talk about where we mentioned the fact that you don't see a lot of Chase Elliott outside of Napa. Jimmy Johnson ended his career for the most full-time career in Cup Series racing yesterday. He didn't get a lot of, everybody thought he was boring. Everybody thought he was vanilla. If you didn't shop at Lowe's, you didn't really know who Jimmy Johnson was.
Right.
Despite the fact that he won all those championships. If Jimmy Johnson was sponsored, had a little bit more edge to him, and Jimmy Johnson was sponsored by Budweiser, the immense popularity of NASCAR, I think, would have been gone. There is something true to what Kevin Harvick said when he said that when your most popular driver is not winning championships, it does not make the sport as good as it could. I really believe that. Because if Jimmy Johnson had a sponsor other than Lowe's, and thankfully, thank Lowe's for all their support over the years for as long as they were involved.
Yeah.
But I think if you had more of a mainstream, everybody uses a specific product kind of thing. Not everybody goes to Home Depot, I guess, except for maybe during this pandemic. But not everybody goes to Napa. Yeah. We encourage everybody to go to Advance Auto Parts, is who we encourage people to go to due to the support of the the Texas Short Track Racing Series. But we gotta find a way to get Chase in front of more people. He'll be making a few more Hooters appearances, hopefully.
Well, and that's one there. I think people can relate better to Hooters than maybe Napa, just because. Well, just because. But to get him, and now it's up to see what sort of champion that he'll be. And I know a lot of folks question when Logano was a champion and when Kyle Busch was a champion, and all of these guys, they really did what they could to get out and boost the sport of NASCAR, or of the Cup Series. But what I really think about is if you had a guy like Kyle Larson that became the NASCAR champion, that would travel around and he'd go race sprint cars and do all of this other stuff, and you could probably get him out to pavement short tracks and get him there. That would be the guy. Because you think about it, back in the old days, Darrell Waltrip, Mark Martin, all these guys, Rusty Wallace, they would go out and they'd run ASA races and go out and run Hooters Cup races and do all this other stuff. I mean, we talked to Gary Ballou last week on this program. Catch the archives at RevvedUpSportsShow.com. And he talked about how those guys would show up. And Bobby Allison, I mean, that's where all of that disconnect is. But so much of it now, and people just don't understand. I try to explain this. So much of why guys can't do this, besides the liability part, is they've got a lot to do during the week. I mean, they're not just drivers anymore. They're spokespeople. They're salespeople. They're pitchmen and women. There's a lot that they have to be doing. Jacqueline Drake checking in, fresh off of Monday Night Live.
Monday Night Live, one of the best shows. It's the best lead-in show that we can. Starts
Absolutely.
At 5 o'clock here local time, if you're listening to on the Central Time Zone. But I think that a lot of it has to do with how well within the sport. I think Chase Elliott's set. I mean, he's got everybody knows Napa's been in this sport forever.
Yep,
they've been sponsoring cars forever in a lot of different series. But you talked about Joey Logano being a champion. He was sponsored by Shell and Pennzoil. Pennzoil had displays all over the place. They had displays. Pennzoil and Shell had displays inside Napa's, inside Advance Auto Parts, inside Walmart and stuff like that. They had lots and lots of different stuff with Joey Logano's face on it. Think about Brad Keselowski, the infamous drinking out of the big, gigantic glass of Miller Lite, drunk as hell on SportsCenter. he was sponsored by Miller Lite. Miller Lite, he was on all the different cases of beer when he won the championship. So as far as it goes, Chase Elliott will be a great champion. I'm just interested to see how well he goes outside of the sport, and I think it's possible that NASCAR is going to find a way to market him and be the. He said it's not for him to decide whether or not he's the face of the sport. Too late. You got a young champion. The most popular driver just won the championship. He's the face of NASCAR, even though if he won't admit it to himself.
So we talked about Junior a while ago. And speaking, let's tell you what's on the docket here tonight. Coming up at 7:05, we're going to talk to Jacqueline's on here. One of our favorite series is the Cars Tour. And there's no doubt about it. We love what they do. It's just a great product. We will talk to Chris Regal, the series director. He will join us at 7:05. And then coming up at 7:35, we talk to Russell Russ and Curtis O'Brien. I think they're going to do a dual call about Lawnmower Racing Texas. So talk about going from extremes. We're going to talk about the Cars Tour, Lawnmower Racing Texas. That's a cool concept. That is a really cool concept, and these guys are busting their asses to try to make it happen. So that'll be fun to talk about. I like that.
It'll be fun. I've been trying to get into lawnmower racing, didn't find the right avenue. There's really nothing close around us to actually try to get into it, so it'll be nice to know that.
Be ready.
It'd be nice to know that there's a club being close to home, so to speak, and it'd be nice. I mean, I wouldn't mind having an eco stock there in Houston to race around there, but maybe try something a little different.
Yeah.
A little lawnmower racing never hurt anybody.
That's right. Yeah, Jacqueline, I had no idea he was in Thailand until he mentioned overseas. I was like, I never gave him the opportunity to cancel, but that door was kind of open. So let's talk about so Chase wins this. Let's talk about Chase and Dale Jr. So you've got these two guys. It's the iconic guys, and of course you had Dale Jr. In the shadows of his dad, and he never. To me, I mean, I wasn't a Junior fan when he came in because I wasn't a fan of his dad. And I mean, not that I despise his dad. I just wasn't a Earnhardt fan. But he lives there now. Dang. Anyway, that's good. But so then I became a Junior fan when I realized the dude's a lot like me. I mean, just a normal guy, likes to sit around, have a cold brew and just tell racing stories and go chase, lost speedways and get out and race and do all this stuff. Then you have Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott is now the heir apparent to Junior when it came to the most popular driver contest. But so really quickly, Chase has done what Junior couldn't do. So is this what's Junior's mindset right now?
I think Junior's happy that he doesn't have to be the face of NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we've talked about it before on the show that when you say who's the face of NASCAR, despite the fact that he's been retired for 3 years now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is still the face of NASCAR. I think that's going to go a long way towards being of Chase taking the mantle away and being the face of the sport. And there's a couple of guys. I think that surprisingly, Denny Hamlin is going to be known more now because of the fact with the mainstream appeal of a Michael Jordan, right?
Oh,
He's tag teaming with Michael Jordan to own a Cup team. So that definitely will go a long way in terms of getting him notoriety. I think Michael Jordan coming into the sport is giving the sport itself more notoriety. Hell, Michael Jordan may end up being the face of NASCAR because he's going to be a new team owner.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jacqueline raises a great point. Remember, and it's so funny now because it was the same thing even further back than what we're going to say about Junior. When Jeff Gordon came in, the whole appeal with him was, well, he doesn't fit in. I mean, he had that kind of, porn mustache or whatever, and he was different. He spoke different, all of that. But when Junior came in, a lot of folks didn't like the way he had the, later Tony Romo with the hat backwards, and he was not his dad. He was not his dad. And the thing that we watch with Chase Elliott is he kind of is his dad, except he doesn't say super speedways. He doesn't quite have that twang that Bill does, but Chase, I think Chase winning the championship in a 2020 that has been so traumatized by everything else, which, by the way, say what you want about NASCAR, they figured out a way to get their shit done this year. I think that it's great for the organization.
I think it's great for the organization, but I got to ask you a question about Bill Elliott. If Bill Elliott won 2 or 3 more titles instead of just the single one in '88, does that put more pressure on Chase Elliott?
I think it does. I mean, I really think it does. And I think that was part of the problem with Junior. I mean, because it was one thing. Junior never drove like Big Dale did. I mean, he'd had some dust-ups out there and stuff happen on the racetrack, but he was never quite that. He was never quite what Dale was. But I think what I'm so impressed with Chase is that you and I have talked about where, I mean, he's so hard on himself, or used to be. And I think a lot of that was the pressure that he felt being thrust into that car, driving for Hendrick. Hendrick goes and picks him out, recruits him at a very young age, and says, this is going to be the guy that's going to be the one that's going to take us to the next level. And that's a lot. That's a lot for anybody. I mean, I don't care what you do, any job that when you are going to be, remember the Golden Child? You remember that Eddie Murphy movie? Way back when you're going to be the Golden Child, that's a shitload, a lot of pressure. And he's handled it well. He's had his bumps and bruises, but I'll be damned, he's overcome it, man. He what we saw in this playoff race, I mean, to go in there and win those races, to advance himself, and then what we saw yesterday, just an absolute ass whooping. That's a sign of, man, I got ice in my veins, and he apparently does.
Well, he's won a couple of different cutoff races dominantly. Won the Martinsville, which was probably more impressive than his run at the Roval. But I think that in terms of does it really come down to the number 9? Did he become a lot better when he got back into his number? Despite the fact that number 9 was his dad's number, that's always been his number. Kind of like the same thing that Austin Dillon talks about racing at number 3. He's always run number 3 because that was his grandpa's number. And so I think that, I've noticed a change in Chase Elliott since he got into the number 9 instead of being in the shadows of Jeff Gordon.
It could be, and there's a section in Gary Ballou's book, and again, this is a shameless plug for Gary Ballou's book, GaryBallou.com. Go check it out. There's a section in there where he writes about the racing psyche. He had a friend that got killed in a racing accident, and that different situation here, but there's a lot of times where you just feel better. I mean, things have to be in place. I know when I raced, when I did extremely well, there were things that I did all the time, and whether it helped or not, I don't know. A certain way that I would in the dwarf car. It was so weird, Bobby, because when I figured out, and it probably had nothing to do with the success, but there was a certain way that I would sit in the dwarf car when it came to my ass. There was a certain way where I would kind of cock my left butt cheek over just a little bit, and I would pull the belt. And to me, I drove better that way. And maybe that security blanket there for him is the 9 car. And we've watched him just turn into a real, I mean, he is now the leader of Hendrick Motorsports. And to see what we saw yesterday, I think it was a pretty cool send-off there where Jimmy Johnson pretty much says, here you go, buddy. It's yours. Run with it. You're the next one.
Whether he intended to or not, the visual was him passing the torch.
Sure,
absolutely, with doing the high fives and stuff on the front straightaway, and I think that it also showed the class of Jimmy Johnson by not overshadowing what Chase was getting to do. Obviously, Jimmy Johnson knows how to celebrate a championship. He won 7 of the damn things, and so, but I think it made Jimmy another respectable class act. But clearly, remember when Chase won Watkins Glen and ran out of gas?
Yeah.
And Jimmy Johnson had to push him in to victory lane. Everybody's like, that's the passing of the torch. That's the passing of the torch. That was just Jimmy being a good teammate.
Yeah.
Visually, the passing of the torch, because that's exactly what they thought about on TV. That's exactly what I saw when I saw the high five and both those guys with their cars next to each other. So the torch has been passed. It's going to be interesting to see how well Chase handles the pressure. So far, so good. I mean, granted, he's in the middle of a party in Dawsonville right now.
They're still ringing that horn or bell or whatever the hell it is. I read something today where someone had asked Jimmy Johnson, what is the most memorable thing for you of your final NASCAR race? He said, Chase Elliott winning the championship. And that speaks volumes there about that guy. And seriously, Bobby, we were talking yesterday. We put it out on our race recap show. You look at changing landscapes. There are so many people that were involved with the race yesterday that will not be around. I mean, you got Jimmy and Chad, which, man, it probably wouldn't have worked out as well for Jimmy. I would have loved to have seen them work together one more time.
One more time.
Let them be crew chief and driver. They probably would have killed each other. It wouldn't have worked. But you got Boyer walking away. We talked about Winston Kelly and Krista Voda. We don't know what's going to happen with her. She's been around so long and is just such a pioneer. We said it yesterday. It was her and Jamie Little were like the only ones that did this. And to see how all of this has changed. And when we get to Daytona in February, 97 days, whatever Larry Mack said, we're going to see a totally different landscape. And I truly hope that it's something good for NASCAR. And I think with Chase Elliott leading us in as our champion, that we're going to a higher place, I think.
Well, I think it's something that Steve Phelps mentioned in his State of the Sport address when he met with the media there on Friday. Something that he said that was really interesting to me is that, or actually I guess it was Saturday morning. Anyway, during the State of the Sport, he said one of the executives from Comcast and Xfinity came and told them, he says, you have done a great job because NASCAR is more relevant than it ever has been. And I think that he's right. I think that executive was totally right, because when you figure out in the sports landscape, NASCAR was the last ones out, and except for PBR, professional bull riding, they were the first ones back in. No disrespect to PBR, but PBR is a mid-minor. NASCAR is a major. When you have a TV deal that pays you money to be on TV, that's when you're a major player, in my opinion, in the sports world. But I think that because NASCAR was the first ones back, the ratings were good. I think the midweek races would have had a little bit better numbers had the weather been better.
Sure.
The only one that didn't have a midweek problem was the race at Martinsville, and hell, it was actually kind of boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Before we keep this conversation up, and again, we've got Chris Regal coming up at 7:05. 105 Speedway, very good weekend out there for them. Saw 3 nights of racing, got Saturday results for you. The Southern Nationals, it is Brandon Shepard out of Illinois as he wins on Saturday and on Friday, so double dipping there in the modifieds. In the limited modifieds, it's John Whittington out of Vidor. In the factory stocks, Tommy Davis Jr. out of Wills Point, Texas. And in the tuners, it is Sean Leisure out of Mansfield. So really good program there. We got some really big dirt shows coming up, and we will be covering them wall to wall right here. So we're ready to get into these shows that are going to be. Stevie. Man, hold on a second here. I don't know if you guys. Saw this or not, but quickly. We did see at the end of the week, Stevie Whitaker will still be in command there at South Texas Speedway. And to me, that's big right there. That guy works his ass off out there.
Well, I think he does. The continuity, obviously, that he's built with his staff and his racers is top notch. That's same thing that Owen Pittman's doing down there at Edna. But the way that he's been able to make that place, South Texas Speedway, a destination racetrack for both fans and drivers, that's when you know that you're happy to see that happen. We're happy when any kind of promoter continues to use a racetrack and a racetrack stays open. But definitely the job that Stevie and the gang down there have done at South Texas Speedway, it makes me really happy for the racers and the fans down in the greater Corpus area to know that their racetrack's still going to be there in 2021.
And they've got a couple of big events coming up, and Edna has the big factory stock, the Clash. That's a lot of money that could be at stake right there. So hopefully weather will stay, the way it's been. If the weather stays the way it's been, they're going to be totally fine. But you've got that coming up. We've got Snowball coming up down in Pensacola. So there's lots of things that are starting to happen right here at the end of the year. And we really do. You mentioned Steve O'Donnell a little bit ago, Bobby, and we really do need to be. I know. We both know. We hear it a lot. Private messages, whatever it may be. I know that a lot of people have issues with NASCAR, and that's great. And a lot of it is valid. But for NASCAR to be able to pull off what they pulled off, that helps us. That helps us as local racers, because I guarantee you, when we're dealing with state legislatures and local city councils and all this, they have to be thinking, because they, like a lot of casual fans, don't understand the difference. They see NASCAR on TV and they know about a local short track. They think it's the same damn thing. That had to have helped get us all back to the racetracks again.
Well, I think it did. In terms of NASCAR being the first sport back, it's able to set the tone. They set the tone for the sports world, but they also set the tone for these local tracks, because I think it's part of that deal. At the county commissioner, it was on every sports. NASCAR's been on the news since the Daytona 500 with Ryan Newman's crash. Like, when it's the lead story the next day on Good Morning America, the Today Show, CBS, whatever it's called, when that was the only thing on the news from the Daytona 500 forward. But when the sports world came back, when NASCAR came back and the sports world got a chance to see NASCAR for what it was, and when you took that, and your county commissioners be like, oh, well, NASCAR's racing, I guess they could race locally. Here we go, put some fans in the grandstands. Now, whether or not that worked out for some speedways better than others. A Speedway in North Carolina, probably not so much.
Yeah, no, not so good. But moving forward, I mean, I think what we need to think about is as we get ready to cap off and book in 2020, 2021, folk, still working on Texas Racing Promoter of the Year. There's been some really good discussions there that I've kind of been a part of that. I'm trying to stay as clear of that as possible, just let them decide whatever. But just great points that are coming up about how folks in Texas have done just a tremendous job. I mean, you sit and you watch with everything that has been thrown at these folks, and to keep battling back, and a lot of it, I mean, what I'm figuring out from what these folks talk to promoters and why they're doing it, why promoters continue to do this, because you got to think about it. I mean, we've talked about it, rarely does a promoter own a racetrack, if never, when it comes to stuff around here. But we see these race promoters that continue to keep racing alive and trying to give people a place to race. And that's the one quality that I keep seeing from all of these people that are being considered for this, prestigious now award, is they keep coming back. And I think what we need to do right now at the end of 2020, before, there's discussions about we want rule changes here, and it's the same stuff that always happens. But we have to remember that with everything that we've been through this year, that we need to have the idea that promoters are having a hard time. And to even begin to think of planning 2021 after probably losing your ass in 2020, it's a tough sled, but they're all coming back.
Well, I mean, it's a drug you can't get rid of. Clearly, you and I can't kick the habit of racing anymore, and the promoters can't either. They have had a horrible 2020 season, just like most all businesses have. I think every business itself has gone down from what it has been and what it has been before. So I will say that kudos to all the promoters out there. You notice in the big shows now that towards the end of the year, that huge show they had over at RPM Speedway the other day, that was massive. That was a humongous show, and that place was packed.
Well, and I'm starting to see that with even with high school football. I was at a game last Saturday, as a matter of fact. We had a Saturday afternoon game over in Cedar Park at Gupton Stadium. I looked down on the home side, and man, there were people everywhere. So again, we just need to remember everything that we should be doing, because there's eyes on us, and but seriously, for promoters, for them to be able to get this pulled off, because I think with so much of it, when we go back and look at it, it was the pulling the trigger part. It was once you actually got to do it, it made a lot more sense, and it seemed a little bit easier, and the hesitation wasn't quite there. But figuring out exactly how you were going to do it, how many people were going to come in, how do you work the pits? I mean, it's hard to keep people off each other at a racetrack, and of course that sounds a lot worse.
That's a problem in the pits.
That's a long-going problem right there.
That's why the family tree's diamond at a racetrack. They don't fork a whole lot. Everybody they diamond together.
Oh man, we just got a soundbite right there. But I mean, you got people sitting on top of each other. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, what are we gonna? I mean, what's gonna happen? What's gonna be next? And that's really what. We just need to move forward and support these promoters and these racetracks and these organizations and series and everyone. I mean, everybody's done a really, really good job. I mean, the Cars Tour, they had to stop for a little bit. They got started. Southern Super Series, they had to stop and put everything on pause and get started again. And I think, Bobby, the one that we really look at when you talk about a series that has struggled is NHRA. I mean, they had to cut purses. They lost their sponsor. They picked another one up. I don't exactly know when picking up, Camping World there, is it back to what it was before? But when you look at a national series like that, I mean, they took a shot right in the privates right there, did NHRA this year.
They really did. I don't want to say it's a dumpster fire, because they were still able to get a lot of their races done. It seems like they were affected by the pandemic more than NASCAR was, and I think that's part of the way that just proves the power of NASCAR. People want to talk all kind of trash about NASCAR, this and that, and it's a horrible product and everything else. But yet at the end of the day, NASCAR was the one. IndyCar ran. Yeah. They did. They ran their season. They were much better positioned than the NHRA. But the NHRA, I mean, like you said, how do you lose your title sponsor who's been there for 4 or 5 years before your season's over?
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. And a great topic comes up on the Facebook page. My man Lance Stacy, that is he and I ran wheel to wheel and door to door and fender to fender and bumper to bumper for many years out there at Longhorn in that old street stock class. Great question. Are all the tracks on the same rules? Can they go from track to track? And that is where dirt excels a hell of a lot better than asphalt, I can tell you, because with IMCA and USRA, they do a really good job of being able. I mean, you've got guys in IMCA they with those tuners, with those factory or mini stocks, you can run those all over the place, and with the iStocks and sport mods, and it's something where the topic keeps coming up about a metal bodied street stock class at Houston. And my idea, and again, this is nothing official, but my idea would be you take that IMCA factory stock, take that rules package, post that shit on the website, and that is where you start. You start right there, and it could be. I had no idea, seriously, about the factory stocks. That's been my aha moment of 2020, that those were the rules. Had no idea that's what they don't run like it, but that's another story.
Well, there's only a few things stock about a factory stock. We've had that conversation on here before.
Well, but if you read the rules, though.
If you read the rules, correct, yeah. It's kind of like back in the day, the asphalt grand stocks. There was nothing grand about a grand stock. You could call them the 3 grand stocks. But I think that's just the way that it is. If you want an affordable entry-level class, eco stocks, your tuners, sport compact, stuff along those lines, that's your entry-level class. But it's a hell of a jump from an eco stock to a truck.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So I think Houston is missing that. They're missing that middle ground, having that having that entry-level V8 class.
Yeah, you got to have it. I mean, that's really the one that's going to appeal to the older fan, that they come out and they're like, that's a Monte Carlo, that's a Cutlass, that's a whatever it is. And I was the biggest fan of driving Camaros. I love them. It's my favorite stock car to drive. But in that class, you don't have to have a Camaro, because that's where you can get in there and manipulate that car and turn it into a super stock. And that's what we have a lot of. And because it's so often at Houston where I see folks come and tell me, they're like, well, why don't those two classes run together, the super and the outlaw? I mean, even though you got the long nose and the high tail and all of that, and when we talked to Robert Barker, man, I think it's great that you can build your own metal body, slap that thing together, and go out there. But you need something to differentiate and go pull the stock car fan. We are stock car racing, and something like a factory stock, because that is where dirt racing hooked me, was when I see iStocks and factory stocks and all these other outlaw super stock, street stocks that look like what I grew up watching at Speedorama.
I think that's where the dirt tracks win with the stock classes.
Absolutely.
But it's also detrimental because you have so many stock classes. Every class out there, you got your iStocks, you got your factory stocks, you got your stock tuners, you got your outlaw street stocks, which is where your Camaros and stuff get forced to run now. So I think that's also detrimental that they're able to have so many stock classes. You have to go above and beyond, because realistically, the difference between a factory stock and an iStock is kind of like the difference between a super stock and an outlaw. They look enough alike where people that don't understand why they're racing two separate classes with almost the same car, despite being two totally different cars.
And the thing is, I've actually gotten the same question at dirt tracks as I've been announcing, just from folks that come in where they ask the same question, whether it be an iStock, an iStock and a factory stock. Well, why are those two classes separated? And of course, if for dirt, you have the luxury of saying, well, there's too many. Because they got a shit ton of both of them. But I really do think, and I am wholeheartedly trying to convince anyone that will listen that really is the way to do it. I mean, don't sit back, because folks have messaged me and they're like, well, write up a set of rules and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we don't need to try to reinvent the wheel, because if you're going to rewrite rules, there's going to be something in there that somebody doesn't like, or that this was missed. From what I've read of the factory stock rules, you can take that and you can breed an asphalt class in Texas that, Lord knows, there's thousands of them around already. I mean, hell, they're running on asphalt pull-offs. I mean, up the air pressure, change the shocks, come race.
I think that you could do that. The rule package that might work really good is that when the pure stock class at Cotton Bowl ended up morphing itself into the factory stock class, and they did that factory stock class where you had the way to grandfather in the Novas.
Yeah.
I think that will work really well in Houston because then you've got your guys that run your factory stocks. You've got your guys that still have the full body cars. That I think would be a good rule package for Houston. But hey, we can only talk about it. It's the powers that be that get to make the decision about that. And you know, give Gina a shout. I think she's enjoying a little bit of time off, or as much time off as she'll take. But who knows, man? It's a work in progress. Just getting ready for recapping for 2020.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll pick that up. That stock class question keeps coming up. I can't tell you how many messages I get about that, but we'll talk about. We're going to the Revved Up Sports Show hotline, and we're going to talk about one series that definitely has figured out how to make things happen, and we just love them here on this program. Love to follow along and just watch all the great things that they do. On the hotline, it is the series director of the Cars Tour. It is our man, Chris Regal. Chris, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Man, we're doing well, and I have to tell you, I had no idea until you messaged me that I got this morning that you were in Thailand. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm sorry about that. I was like, man, sheesh. Anyway, so thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming on. So that things well there for you?
Yeah, everything's good here. It's about 8 in the morning here, so bright and early, and glad to be on the show with you guys.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to start off with the question everybody's been asking me, and it's a question I have for myself about the 2021 schedule with Rockingham on the schedule. How is that going to work with the late model stock cars? Are you guys running the little Rockingham Speedway behind there? Are you guys going to run the big oval there? And then we'll get a chance to talk about 2020 and all the good stuff, but everybody's been blowing me up about the Rockingham deal.
Yeah, no, that's definitely been since we put out the schedule, kind of been the most talked about event and stuff like that, but it will be the big track, 1 mile oval. So, if you kind of look back a little bit in history of Rockingham, UARA, race there back in the day on the 1 mile oval, and so we'll do the same. So it will be the big track, and the folks there at Rockingham want to try to get back and bring some racing back to the track, and with everything we've had going on, and it's a good way for them to get back in racing. They're in the the owners and the facility are into the entertainment business, and obviously it's a racetrack, so they're pretty excited about bringing racing back to Rockingham, and the community is too. So we're super pumped about getting back there.
Yeah, that's a great venue right there, and so I have to ask you, what is the state of the facility? Have they been working? I know Bobby, my partner here, said that he had seen it at one point. So are they actively working to get her back in order?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, there's definitely work that needs to be done and stuff like that. But, since they've taken over the facility, the owners have put work into it, hosting concerts and things like that. So, obviously that's a little bit different than the racing part, but, they're definitely putting the effort into it to get it back to what it, where it needs to be. Mm-hmm. As you guys know, is when these facilities, sit, it sure doesn't take long for things to go south. So but put but it, in the same way, we've seen racetracks across the country that if you put some elbow grease into it, that you can get them back in shape and ready to host events. It's just putting that effort and that desire there, and they definitely have that there.
Yes, sir.
Because, Chris, you mentioned that the local people are getting behind it. My grandmother lives about 5 miles from Rockingham Speedway, and I've seen it multiple times when I go and visit her. When I talked to her, I guess it was a couple of days ago, she was reading in the county newspaper, the Richmond County Dispatch, that the big article in there was talking about racing coming back to Rockingham. So I think that it's a good thing that the local community is supporting that racetrack, and it's a race with my grandmother being that close. It's a race that Rodney and I might try to break into in 2021.
Yeah, well, it definitely love to have you guys, and the timing of the race, obviously it's our season opener, so that's a big thing. But March 6th, that's kind of traditional. Rockingham, the old NASCAR Cup race used to be around that time. So, but yeah, there's been a lot of media and things like that from the local area, which is always a huge thing. And that part of obviously you having ties to that area, that part of North Carolina, it needs something. It needs something, and so we're definitely glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chris, let's talk about the Cars Tour. And I have to tell you, I mean, so many times on this program, I compare the Cars Tour to back in the day. I'm an older guy, to All Pro with Bob Harmon and Rex Robbins with ASA. What is it? You guys have just done a tremendous job building a series that people want to go race there. You go to the great tracks, and you've got Throwback 276, and you just have this tremendous following. I mean, what does it take to establish a series so successful as the Cars Tour?
I mean, I think I think there's a couple different factors that has maybe led to our success and in a short amount of time. I mean, I feel like we've been pretty consistent on keeping things simple, trying stuff, and if it works, build upon that. If it doesn't, then maybe we try something else.
Right.
So not when I whether it's going to different facilities, let's use Rockingham for example, and or if it's different programs, incentives for competitors to compete. We've tried things, and we've gotten feedback from the competitors. On the late model stock, we have a Touring 12 program that basically guys get compensated to extra, or get paid to extra, or incentives extra to be a part of the show.
Sure. And
those 12 teams and drivers also double as there's our panel to get feedback to what we should do to help grow the series on a competitor standpoint. So I think just things like that, and be willing to try and be willing to be open to stuff, but keeping it simple, traditional, to the racing. And I think then developing relationships with our fans, and we do stay in a smaller region first before we've kind of grown out a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I think that's helped. And then I think the other part of it is having some really good people involved. Obviously, you guys have spoken with Jacqueline, Tony, and series. Obviously series owner Jack McNally and myself, and our administrative team with Keely, and I think we have the right people. Yeah. And our tech staff as well. So it takes time to find the right people, but in this sport, having the right people can definitely make a difference on if you succeed or not.
You got that right.
That's right, Chris. It takes the right bunch to make it happen. So let's talk about 2020 as a whole. Obviously, you guys faced the pandemic like everybody else. What from the series standpoint? We've talked to a lot of promoters and different stuff like that. From the series standpoint, how hard was it to get restarted after this pause? I mean, you had to work. Different tracks had different rules. Different states had different rules. How was it? How much challenging was that as a series to try to start navigating that once you got to get back racing?
Well, I tell you from our standpoint, I feel like North Carolina, based on our restrictions and what was in place, was probably one of the hardest states to deal with. So that was a huge factor for us. The biggest thing was just the unknown, and obviously racing in March and then not until June basically. You didn't really know what your next move was. You hoped and you planned and you had, you thought you would have an idea, and then that would change. So that was always the hard thing too. And, that obviously, led to a lot of changes on the schedule. And, trying to hustle and find new tracks and being in North Carolina, we have most of our events in North Carolina. So that with very tough restrictions in our state, that led us to, going to the facilities we hadn't went to, but basically going to, seeking events that were outside our state in order to have events. We had one event, our first race back at a track that, at Hickory that was 0 fans. And, we had, we just wanted to get back to racing. But from a short track series standpoint, compared to the NASCAR level, that's something that's just not an option for us. Is to have events, without fans. It's not an economically feasible way to continue. So we were able to have that one race to get back going, and then from there, we had to come up with plans and events and stuff like that, and then going to facilities that would allow us to host fans. So the biggest thing was probably, in our state, and just the unknown changes and restrictions and things like that happened in our home state was probably our biggest challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're based out of one of the states that is the most stringent on all of this, that has to be a tough situation there. So, your thoughts? I mean, I love how the season ended. I mean, one of our guys, Jared Fryer, ends up being the late model stock champion, a 2-time champion there with the Cars Tour. Just such a great racing family there with some Texas ties. But I mean, you end up, I think you guys, it's just so admirable and impressive with you guys, because you end up teaming up with Southern Super Series and the All-American 400. How did all of that come about? That's just so impressive, where I think other series need to look at the flexibility of what you guys have all done to make stuff happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's, pretty cool seeing Jared, become the late model stock champion after being in the Super Champion. So that was pretty impressive. I mean, he had an amazing year on late model stock, and and then on the Super deal, kind of Matt Craig as a champion at the All-American 400, which is a huge event, huge prestigious event, and Bob Sargent and his team taking over Fairground Speedway has been huge for the industry. I think that's kind of was cool to see the All-American come back to traditional 300 laps. So that was big. But and teaming up Southern Super Series and CRA, we've once again in 2021 we'll go back to Bristol with all 3 of us working together. We'll be a part of the All-American 400 again. It won't be our points race this year, to crown the points for
Sure.
this year, for 2021. But then we have another co-sanction with CRA for the big racing we'll have in July 4th weekend in Jennerstown. That'll be $20,000. And one I think that'll be pretty cool is we'll do a co-sanction race with Southern Super Series at Greenville Pickens in April. So
Awesome.
it's we have a great relationship. RJ and Glenn at CRA and Tim Bryant with Southern Super Series. We just, all three of us, we all kind of get it. We all work towards the common goal, and we unified rules where literally people can go to any of those events held by the three of us, and not skip a beat. So and we're in constant communication. We enjoy talking to each other. We enjoy picking each other's brains and being at each other's events. So that's kind of been a huge asset to the industry, I think, in order to help unify super late model racing.
I agree. So well said. That is a beautiful thing. So hopefully, Chris, Throwback 276. Hopefully, we get to really do the throwbacks here again in 2021.
Yeah, man, that's one of my favorite events for sure, and hopefully it's something that we can really put the effort into and get build that thing back up and while we did race that event this year, it wasn't the throwback race, and man, it's just that takes a lot of behind the scenes. It takes a lot of effort from everybody's parts, from the series standpoint, but the competitors, or graphic companies, and then we bring a lot of the cool thing, and just seeing that line for people talking and get autographs from those old school racers, and I hope the Throwback 276 comes back in a big way for sure.
Absolutely, no doubt.
So, Chris, we were talking about Jared Fryer having the Texas connection, and we had a little birdie tell us about your Texas connection. So how does one go from starting out in Texas to working with a racing series in North Carolina, and then how do you end up in Thailand?
Yeah. So I guess when you say it all like that, it kind of sounds strange, but
not Thailand, Texas.
That's right. But I grew up, and all my family is still in Texas. I don't have any family anywhere else. All my family is still in Texas. A little town called Paradise, Texas, in Wise County.
Nice.
So not too far from Texas Motor Speedway, about probably 30 minutes or so. But
yep.
I kind of grew up there, and was involved with a little bit of in the local dirt scene and some asphalt stuff down Houston, San Antonio, and Corpus, and I've been to a lot of those events down you guys' way, and then like I said, for myself, I transitioned to North Carolina on working on the NASCAR trucks and Xfinity Series and stuff like that. I transitioned to that pretty early, have lived in North Carolina, ever since, and just kind of worked on the competition side of things for most of the time, and then worked in the motorsports marketing and the business side, and now I've worked for the Cars Tour. I guess it's been about 7 years now. Maybe something like that. Yeah. Maybe 8. I don't know. Time flies, I guess, when you're having fun.
Yeah, that's right.
That's kind of my Texas ties, and like I said, all my family is still there, and definitely it's cool, what you guys are doing and stuff like that, because it's sometimes it's harder to find that passionate motorsports, especially on the stock car side, and especially when it gets to asphalt racing in Texas. So, kind of, it kind of, I was definitely in the minority growing up as far as being a desire to love NASCAR and things like that. So, it's pretty cool to see that I feel like it's grown a little bit. Just talking about Texas motorsports, I love seeing what Houston's done and everything that's gone there, and haven't been there in a long time, but would love to get back because I think it's pretty cool that everything that they got going in there. But that's my Texas ties, and now here in Thailand, the country, not Thailand, Texas, but I've been here. I've kind of came here a lot, and I like to travel. That's one of my other things that I really enjoy to do, and kind of with this year, and even in the past little bit, I've usually have been the race director as well.
Right.
And if you know anything about being a race director, that's probably the most hated job there is whenever you get to the racetrack.
Tech guy, that and the tech guy.
Yeah. Usually that race director is even worse because he makes you go to the tech guy.
That's right.
Think.
That's right.
So,
that's exactly right.
So for me, anyways, I've done that ever since I've been with the Cars Tour, and it was actually something I really never had experience in, other than just being involved with other people and learning from other people. So it's something that I definitely didn't mind transitioning away from, for sure.
Yeah.
Our race director Danny Willard, who's always been with me the entire time we've been there, and he's race directed a lot of other places. He does a great job, and it's something I didn't mind transitioning from. So I really like the business side of the industry. I always have. I'm really good with sponsorship and our sponsors, and fan initiatives, and the business side. It's something that I really like. Yeah. I've kind of been focusing more on that and doing a lot of that, and I think that's probably the thing that most people don't realize, especially from a short track, smaller series like us.
Yeah.
It really takes a lot of that to really grow and be successful and get where you want to be. On how how are we going to grow to how do we get bigger from here? I think that's a pretty big behind the scenes things that people don't really realize, all the business side of that goes into it to make things work.
Yeah, absolutely. I went from in the car to race announcing, and I saw everything differently when I got into the promoting, helping with promoting and all that. It's like, man, I thought people just showed up here and turned the lights on. You never really understand till you get to the other side. But got to tell you about Houston. So if you ever have open dates where you need to have a race, we have a great place, and we would love to have you and all your great teams out. Just throwing that out. Throwing that out to you.
I kind of figured that's where that was going, but whenever you said, let me tell you about Houston. But
that's awesome,
man. It would definitely be cool to have an event or see an event, to come there.
For sure.
I think if it ever did happen or whatever, it would be more on the super late model side. I think would be a better fit, just because it's probably names and of people, and I know there are a lot of pro late models, that are drivers and teams and cars that have came from Texas, and with our rules, they are able to run with the super division on a weight break. So,
yeah.
Never know. And the fan base, it seems like just has really been growing there at Houston from what I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff, Chris. For one thing, thanks so much for waking up early to do this. Like I said, I had no idea till I really saw where you were. I was like, oh man, sorry, but man,
no big deal.
Congratulations on all the success, and I mean seriously, you guys. I mean you are the model, you are the blueprint for a racing series on how to operate. I mean, you're racer friendly, you're fan friendly, and like you said, folks don't understand. You got all the right pieces in place, and you still manage to make 2020 just an exceptional year, even with all the, pardon my French, all the shit you had to deal with.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing that we really focused on, and when and explained to people. We at the end of the day, we did what we said we were going to do for our teams, our sponsors, our fans. Is we had all the events that we scheduled, as far as the amount of events. Yeah, they were at different facilities. Yeah, we were scrambling, 2 or 3 weeks before and having to change it. But at the end of the day, we fulfilled, what we said we were going to do. And I think, if you want to talk about trying to be successful, it's small things like that, that go the extra mile. And I think, if you really look back, we didn't cancel any race.
That's right.
We weren't having it. We didn't do that. We had our biggest race of the year, with our most expensive purse, the Old North State Nationals. It wasn't in the North State. It wasn't in North Carolina, but we had it, and we had a great event. We had a great field and great fan turnout. So
yeah,
at the end of the day, it was a crazy year, and the reality is that depending on where things go, we might be in for it more.
Yeah, that's true.
But
that's true.
You gotta do what you say you're gonna do, and that's what we did. That, and I think as crazy as it was, you look at 2020. I think it was a good season for the car store.
Yep, absolutely. Great year. Chris, thanks so much for the time, my friend. Let's stay in touch. Gonna try to get to Rockingham. I've always wanted to go to the Rock. Let's get down there and keep doing it, man. It's really good to see a series just doing what you guys do.
Hey, thanks to you guys for having me on, and from a kid that grew up in Texas that motorsports wasn't big. It's appreciative for what you guys do, and thanks for recognizing the sport, and recognizing even the cars tour and things like that, and then the local Texas racers too. So appreciate everything you guys do as well.
Yes, sir. Our pleasure. Be well, my friend, and like I said, let's keep in touch.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, thanks. There he is, Chris Regal. And these guys, I mean, seriously, they have, blueprint. I mean, if you could draw up how to operate a series and how to, and I think so much of it is when he talked about a driver council and all this stuff, that's the stuff Bob Harmon and Rex Robbins and all of this, I've been told firsthand, where they would talk to drivers and they wanted input on what's happening. And I think that's something where, maybe even local short tracks need to think about that. I mean, appoint a level-headed, somewhat. I hate to use conservative, being everything that we're going through. Somebody that can be a class leader, and I think that's what they've done. And they're successful in the pros and everything they do works well.
Well, I think you've seen it in NASCAR when Brian France wasn't going to all the races. NASCAR kind of lost its way, but when Jim France came back and Jim France showed up every race weekend and was talking to all the drivers and talking to all the teams and had his finger on the pulse of the sport, it made a difference. I think that's totally what the Cars Tour is getting done right with all the councils and stuff. And who knows? Can you imagine a dual sanctioned Super Southern Series CRA Super Late Model race in Houston? That would be probably too late to get it done in 2020, but that could be a hell of a goal for 2022.
There is an open date on that calendar, I'd like to say. There is a date that says to be determined. But anyway, I know there's a lot that has to happen there. But
now don't let out too much of the cat out of the bag. So 2021 season hadn't been released yet over there.
No, there's nothing in the works there. But it's just really it is, especially as I've read the Gary Ballou book, because he in detail talks in there about how the short tracks used to operate back before, and he talks about All Pro and ASA, and I think that was the really cool part about it. And Chris touched on it there, that seriously this year the All American 400 really was what we were accustomed to it being back in the day. It was North versus South, and I mean I know that that's not the appropriate term to use, but it was actually I think what we're starting to see, where the All American 400 can grow and be even better, is you got North versus South versus East versus West. If you can get the California and the coastal guys over, I mean, there's really opportunities there. And I think the other part of it, Bobby, is with the Cars Tour. What I'm so impressed with the Cars Tour is that they pay really good purses. I mean, it would be one thing if you're having all of these races at all these different venues, and the purse maybe isn't quite what it should be, but man, they do a really good job with that.
They have a hell of a purse, actually, for today's standards with purses, the way the purses go.
Yeah.
I mean, they ran a $30,000 to race win in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that one went a long way towards making that series the good that it is.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, I love what he said also, because he talks about I mean, Lord knows, I mean, track operators know. And again, this is something else that we're finding out in this Texas race promoter thing, is that you definitely do. You got to put the right pieces in place, and you have to have people that they have their designated job. And I think a lot of where race promoters struggle, and again, I've never been one, I never aspire to be one, is that they struggle with delegating. And
very much so.
Yeah. The Cars Tour does not have that problem. They have people where you do this is you, this is you, this is you. And you watch, I mean, every one of their events, whether it be Jacqueline's videos or talking to drivers, or whether it be Tony and all of these guys, everybody has their part to play. And you watch this presentation that starts, the race is on Saturday, but it's all of this. All of this is happening. And then you have your race on Saturday, and that's tremendous. That's how you do it.
We didn't even get a chance to talk to them about the pay-per-view stuff they do with the CarsTour.tv.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's maybe where we get Tony Stevens back on here and get in and break that down. But good stuff there. We'll have that archived up here shortly, as Chris Regal, series director of the Cars Tour, and he didn't sound too disappointed to not be the race director anymore.
No, he did not, did he?
No doubt about it. Going back to the Revved Up Sports Show hotline, we go from the Cars Tour. We go from talking super late models and pro late models. We're going to talk some lawnmower racing. And now this is a concept.
Hell yeah, here we go.
On the Revved Up Sports Show hotline, I know we have Russell Rust, who's a good buddy of mine, and I think we also may have Curtis O'Brien. I think we may have a foursome going here. Holy moly.
There's another soundbite for
you. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Good.
Doing good. How are you?
Oh man, can't complain. So what is this fascination here? I mean, I've seen different variations of lawnmower racing, and you guys are running events. Well, what the hell, you guys? Russell, what do you got yourself into now?
Man, I tell you, I committed to buying one mower, just like racing. You think, hey, I'm just going to try it out and see how I like it. Well, I went from one, I guess that was 3 weeks ago, to owning 5 now.
Hell, I only saw 3 on Facebook.
Yeah, we actually went, those 3 went to Louisiana. There was, I think 4 or 5 of us that went to Louisiana over the weekend and competed in a Cajun Challenge. So we raced against Alabama, Louisiana.
Nice.
And then we represented Texas. Sadly, we were 1 point shy of bringing that trophy and the bragging rights back with us, but hey, we're going to get it next year.
No doubt.
Yeah, it was a track challenge.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome, man. I love that.
So it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. I've got my kids into it now. Both my little ones are running them, so it's
that's the thing about the lawnmower racing is you can it's all different age brackets, from 6 to 12 and all the way up to, we got people 64 years old racing the lawnmowers.
Well, shit, I guess I found another way to
Found you
continue my
another way.
racing career.
So that leads me to.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
go ahead. I'm just saying it's a fun family sport for all ages.
Absolutely.
So somebody that's interested in racing a lawnmower like I am myself, how do I go about getting into this stuff? I mean, do I just take the one? Do I go steal my dad's extra lawnmower sitting in the back and try to put a racing motor in it, or how's the best way to get started and get involved with lawnmower racing?
You could start that way. Yeah, sure. I don't think your dad will be happy, but yeah, you could definitely start that way. And his yard's going to look a little rough in a couple of years. But, you can get into it, fairly cheap. There's different classes, and we have a stock motor class with it has to be a lawnmower frame, has to be a lawnmower engine stock, has to have lawnmower tires on it, lawnmower transmission. As a matter of fact, Russell races in the GP class and SP class. Those are pretty much stock engines, but they go pretty fast. But really, you can build them yourself. Start with a lawnmower frame. There's several suppliers that you can put a front axle with spindles, with adjustable spindles, kind of like a go-kart on the front, and you can use aluminum wheels like a go-kart, but it's got to be a lawnmower frame, lawnmower transmission. And there's a next class where you can modify the engine. It has to be stock appearing engine on the outside, but you can do any modifications on the inside of it that you want to. And it has to have a lawnmower frame, lawnmower tires, lawnmower transmission, lawnmower engine, but stock appearing. And that's a prepared chassis. And then it goes all the way up to what you saw in Russell's trailer there, the blue one that was on the end. That's what you call a FXS, factory experimental single cylinder.
Oh hell!
And we also have factory experimental twin cylinder.
Oh shit!
And the twin cylinders are getting up, in the 110 horsepower range.
Damn.
And they have lawnmower frames. They just opened up the rules that we kind of follow. We kind of follow a rule book of the USLMRA, United States Lawnmower Racing Association. And they have the full rule book with all the rules that basically most of the tracks follow.
Mm-hmm.
There may be a few little variations, but not much, so that we can all race together.
Nice.
But the Russell's got an FXS. I've got an FXS. Those are single cylinders, and then they make they also have a twin. That's and in those you can run Hoosier tires. you can run you can run a custom built a tube chassis. You can run a tube chassis.
Sweet.
They just changed the rule for us this year to run tube chassis. Used to you had to start with a lawnmower frame. You could reinforce it any way you wanted to, but it had to have the frame rails of a lawnmower.
Yeah.
And you got to use a lawnmower hood and lawnmower fenders. But other than that, you can put the seat as low as you want. You can put the frame as low as you want. Use fully adjustable spindles in the front, live axle in the rear, run off of a centrifugal clutch, 4-disc, bully clutch.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we use a lot of mini sprint stuff like brakes and we got hydraulic brakes, on the rear. And some of them have 4-wheel brakes on them.
Jeez.
They put a proportional valve on them and run front brakes on the left front tire.
Wow.
And on the left front wheel. But yeah, you can get as radical as you want, or you can be as calm as you want. Like Russell's got his kids involved, and how old's your son, Russell?
Raiden. Yeah, sorry, my phone was off. Raiden, he's 10 right now.
Wow.
10.
Oh man.
We got a class from 6 to 12. It's called Minimo class, and it's got they put a stock. It has to be 6-to-1 ratio on it, and and then they have a stock like Predator motor or something on it. Just I don't know how many horsepower is that on there, Russell?
It's just a little 6.5.
Nice.
6.5, yeah.
Nice. Now,
Yeah.
I got
Like some
two
of the singles.
those.
Go ahead.
I got 2 of those Predator motors sitting in my garage right now.
Yeah, and you can buy them cheap. I mean, I've found a place where I can buy them for like $60.
wow. Well,
So, yeah.
Be ready, Russell. Remember what happened? Remember what happened to our Dwarf Car series? They opened the rules up, and anyway. But that's another story. That's for another show. But so where do you guys? I mean, I know you're talking about. You have an event this weekend, don't you? There's something coming up on the 14th or whatever Saturday is.
Go ahead, Russell.
Yeah, in Wortham, Texas, over I guess it'd be east of Waco, at Camp Shayla. We'll be having a race. It starts at 2:30, I believe. Is that right, Curtis?
Yeah, starts at 2:30. It's Camp Shayla Mower Speedway in Wortham, Texas. And we're racing. There's some guys from Oklahoma coming down. I just talked to some guys from Louisiana that we raced this weekend, but they were going to have 6 FXSs, which those are fast. I mean, like one that Russell has there, and I've got one pretty much identical to Russell's, and they're probably pushing 50, 55 horsepower.
Wow.
They start out as the motors we have on those are Honda engine. They start out as a 13 horsepower Honda engine. Now they're making 45, 50 horsepower.
Damn.
They're 450. Well, both of ours are 460 cc's. Now they've come out with the 500 big block, so we got to go bigger.
Bigger's better. Bigger's better. Cubic horsepower right there.
Yeah, it's just like in the prepared class. I have a prepared class. It's called CP class, and it's got to be a lawnmower engine, and it's a Briggs & Stratton. Well, they make a 28 cubic inch, they make a 31 cubic inch, and they make a 33 cubic inch.
Damn.
So
had no idea.
Everybody's always looking for the 33 cubic
yeah, I
inch
bet.
motor.
I bet.
So,
but there's a lot of high performance parts for the Briggs stuff and the Honda stuff, and they've got some guys. They build these Kohler engines, running them on methanol, and they're 110 horsepower. They dyno these engines.
Yeah, I believe
they just did the All-American race up in Alabama this weekend, and they usually have anywhere from 50 to 60 lawnmowers. I don't know how many they had. We had 30 lawnmowers at our race in Louisiana this weekend.
Wow, that's awesome.
At the track challenge. Yeah.
That's great.
At our last race in Camp Shayla in Wortham, we had 34 lawnmowers.
Damn.
Wow.
That's a lot.
So in terms of rules,
well,
where's the best place to get rules? Do we go to the USLMRA?
Rules, yeah, go to haymo.com. Haymo.com.
Yeah.
That'll get you motivated.
Nice.
There it is. Yeah.
So, guys, I hope you're prepared. Because we got all these damn racers that are listening to this that are about to go into off season. What's your season? I mean, you're probably about to have guys that race super late models and stuff come race lawnmowers. So, what's your duration of y'all season? Are y'all racing year round?
We've started racing more. The club that was here in Texas, they weren't racing that much. Now that we've got a home track, Camp Shayla up in Wortham, we'll race in December if people want to race. We'll race anytime. We're racers too. We love to race, so we'll race. And but right now we've only scheduled February through November.
Yeah.
The second Saturday of every month, February through November. But I was thinking about putting together a race for December and maybe try one in January.
Nice.
And there's national events. I mean, they have national events all across the country.
That'd be awesome.
That sounds like so much fun. My dad has a bunch of older lawnmowers Now, they don't run, but if you can put Predator motors on them, then that's something that I would look forward to, even if it's an older lawnmower. If I could put a new motor on it, that looks like fun. Rodney, I think we found our next racing series.
Yeah. I think I found a way to stay involved here. That's good stuff. So Russell, what's this picture? I have a picture up there. Is that you driving over your own hood? Is that you?
Yeah, we had a little mishap. And the hood
He
came
didn't
undone.
like the color. He didn't like the color of it.
Need a new hood anyway. That's awesome.
It's still smiling though. You see the little smiley face there?
Oh yeah. No doubt about it. So how many lawnmower tracks are there around Texas? I mean, is Camp Shayla the only one, or are there some other ones in different locations?
Well, we've raced in Bernie, Texas,
Mhm.
where down there where Russell lives. We've raced in Hondo at county fairs. We
Yeah.
race at the Fort Bend County Fair here where I live every year. And then we have a Needville Harvest Fest that we race here. And they're just once a year tracks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As far as a permanent track, there's very few.
Yeah.
We'll race in the bull ring of big, dwarf car tracks or whatever asphalt tracks. We can race the bull ring. But our organization, we're really kind of sticking with Camp Shayla and racing there for right now, and venturing out to a couple other little tracks, but that's about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there? I'm sorry, but you got something? Go ahead.
Actually, I think we're going to ask the same question about social media. Where's the best place to keep up with you guys in the series?
You can either go to Camp Shayla Mower Speedway or Lawnmower Racing Texas.
Yeah.
Lawnmower Racing Texas, I usually keep everybody updated there. I run that page on Facebook. And then the owner of Camp Shayla runs the Camp Shayla Mower Speedway. And we update everybody there. We're going to have our first points race for the Camp Shayla Mower Association. We're going to have our first points race of the year this Saturday.
Yeah. I've got, and thanks to Russell for sending that over. So what I like about this Camp Shayla Motor Speedway, free to get in the gate. That's a cool thing. Registration from 12 to 1, tech from 12:30 to 1:30, drivers meeting from 1:30 to 2, hot laps at 2:30, heat races at 3, and feature races at 5. That's a nice that's a nice tight program right there, guys. That's well done. I like that a lot.
Yeah, we enjoy it. We move it right along, and if we can, the driver's meeting takes a little less time, or if heat laps take a little less time, we move the race right on up and try and keep the crowd there and keep them entertained.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is there a way, have you guys been able to, do you have a program together? I know like with Race on Texas and all that, is there a way for folks to watch this, or hopefully that's something that we can help you guys try to put together maybe?
Yeah, we haven't. We've done a little live on Facebook here and there, but the track owner's been talking about getting somebody to video the stuff and YouTube. But yeah, as far as a live feed, no, we really don't have a live feed. That's something we probably need. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think Race on Texas went out and actually covered one race before.
Yeah.
Yes. But the problem was the Wi-Fi, that the internet was, since it's out in the kind of remote areas.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best service.
Yeah.
So I think it'd have to be, recorded and then sent out later.
Yeah. Possibly. Yeah.
I'm just looking at
we're out there in the country with the cows.
I just keep looking at the Facebook page. I got to get me one of these things. These things look badass.
They're fun. They're sweet. Yeah. And I used to drag race for a long time, and that got so expensive, and you can get into this, real reasonable and be competitive.
Yeah.
And it's everybody helps everybody out there. It's not cliquish like you would say, like some other racing.
Oh yeah.
When I used to go drag racing, they'd close their hood when you walk up to look at their car.
Oh yeah.
we take our hoods off to show people what
Hell yeah.
what we got, and it's all about the driving. If you're a driver, it's your sport.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Russell, I can see why you're drawn to it, because I mean that sounds totally familiar, like what we used to do. So if you're doing it, it's got to be something. When you first called me about it, I'm like, man, this sounds pretty cool. And then when I investigated it a little bit more, so how many divisions total? We'll cut you loose here, but how all total, how many divisions will we see on Saturday?
There'll be from different. There's some come from Louisiana, which is the Cajun Mower Racing Association,
Mm-hmm.
and there'll be some from the USLMRA, the United States Lawnmower Racing Association,
Nice.
and then we'll have the Camp Shayla Mower Racing Association there.
Wow.
And then there's some people that that watch our page. You know, they watch the Lawnmower Racing Texas Facebook page, and they'll just show up unannounced.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
So we ought to have a pretty good lineup of lawnmowers this weekend.
Yeah, sounds like it. So I live in a subdivision, so I guess you don't have a push mower division, do you? That'd be about the only thing that I could do at this point.
But yeah, Rodney, Bobby, y'all should come down sometime, and
absolutely,
I'll put y'all on some of my mowers.
Oh, hell.
Try it out.
Yeah, hell, I'll put you on mine too.
Oh,
Here
Look
we
out.
go.
Yeah, there you
Have
go.
a show.
We had
Oh,
a
man.
news crew. They're on the Dallas Channel 5 came down, and we put a news crew on some mowers. It's on Texas Today.
Yeah.
Was the segment on Dallas Channel 5 News, and we put the news crew on the lawnmowers, and they had their own little race out there, you know, and did a little deal.
Very nice.
So yeah, y'all come on down, and we'll put all you on some mowers and see how good y'all can really drive.
Yeah, we'll figure out a way. That's Russell. That's the Butch Havelka way right there. Throw my dumb ass on one of those things, and I'll be hooked. But good stuff. Good stuff, guys, man. That I think you got 2 new fans right here, and please, I mean, let us. You got events coming up as we go. I mean, we're heading to the off season for the big stuff, big cars. I mean, let us know. We'll promote the hell out of it, man. I'd love to see it in person. I think it'll be great.
You bet. You bet. Yep. Going 60 miles an hour on the lawnmower. Who'd have thought?
That just doesn't seem right. It just doesn't seem right. But so how big is the track? How big is Camp Shayla? What's the distance?
8 miles, 660 feet.
Nice.
Ooh.
Nice. Even better. That is hauling the mail right there. That's a shit and get
about
right
165 foot straightaways. It's kind of like a paperclip shaped track.
Yeah.
Nice.
Banked curves.
Oh well.
We're hitting probably somewhere in the 50s on that track.
Damn.
Man.
I love it. That's good stuff, guys.
As if we needed more reason to try to get one of these.
That is good stuff. Really good stuff. So that is coming up Saturday. Camp Shayla. Mo Speed. What is it? Camp Shayla. I have it somewhere.
Camp Shayla Mower Speedway. They named it after their daughter that died in a car wreck when she was 16 years old.
Yep. That's awesome. Camp Shayla Mower Speedway. That is in Wortham. 12 o'clock registration. Hot laps 2:30. Heat races 3 o'clock. Feature at 5 o'clock. Guys, thanks so much, man. This is let's stay in touch, guys. This is this could be big. This could be big.
You bet. You bet.
Absolutely, guys.
You bet.
Y'all have
well, thanks for having us.
You bet.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care, boys. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right, you too.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Curtis O'Brien and Russell Rust, Lawnmower Racing, Texas.
They were talking about adjustable disc brakes, adjustable shocks, spindles.
Yeah.
What on a lawnmower? Riding lawnmower.
That just goes to where you can take, and that just speaks volumes about people, is how you can take something so simple. Take something so simple as a lawnmower. I mean, you wouldn't think a lawn tractor, whatever it may be, and you can turn it into something that's really fast. I mean, I remember back, years ago, my dad he had a lawn tractor, just a regular old lawn tractor, Sears, I think it was, and he did something to the motor, and he put some VP racing fuel in there, and it started smoking and everything. But it definitely did haul ass, and he pulled a blade up, and it did run fast. I don't think it ran as fast as what they were doing, but that's that right there, man.
That just sounded
That's
fun.
gold.
Yeah, that just sounded like a lot of fun. It's got to be, it's one of those things where just listening to those dudes talk about it was fun enough, but can you imagine how much fun it'd be to see that on like Facebook Live?
Well, and yeah.
Race on Texas. Put him down at Lawrence's track.
RevvedUpSportsShow.com. Yeah, Lawrence's track be great. And I saw Bruce put on there something about asphalt. Nah, we don't need that on asphalt. We've got legends and all this other stuff and dwarf cars and all this. But
put a little lawnmower track in the center H&P though.
Man, that he'll put some cones out there. Cone it off. That's good stuff, man. So we go from Chris Regal with the Cars Tour, which is just a booming short track series, to I think what could be this massive. Imagine when people start hearing and seeing that, how big that's going to be.
That could be. It just sounded cool as hell, man.
I love it, man. That's good stuff, and that's again that's mentality of racing individuals, is that they want to take anything and make it fast. You always want to go faster.
But you can race anything.
Yeah, you can.
It's just human nature. People talk about racing not being a sport. Man, people race everything. They race each other on foot. They race each other in boats. They race each other in canoes, lawnmowers, race cars. Racing is a universal sport. It happens all over the world in every discipline you can think of.
Absolutely. Good stuff right there. Good night. Good show.
Good fun show.
You gotta love it. Hey, congratulations to Chase Elliott, and congratulations to I think to short track racing, because that's a notch for short track racing right there.
Yeah, I think so. He's one of the short track guys. Becomes the second Snowball Derby champion to be a Cup Series champion. Only difference is between him and Kyle Busch, he was not a Cup Series driver when he won the Snowball Derby.
And it goes without saying, we could see Chase at the Snowball. So
may not be racing, but I bet a pretty good feeling. I bet he's going to be there.
Absolutely, that he'll want to go back. He'll want to go back to the roots, especially now crowned a champion. Especially being a past winner of that he's going to want to go down there. He's going to want to see his people. Because that's where it all started for him. Super great show. Talked Cars Tour. Thanks to Chris Regal for jumping on, and just a great interview from Thailand. I think we've stretched new limits here.
That's right.
On the Revved Up Sports Show. Curtis O'Brien, Russell Russ from Lawn More Racing, Texas. This will be podcast at RevvedUpSportsShow.com, at HornFM.com, and everywhere else. All your major podcast providers, as well as on YouTube. The video is there. Search Revved Up Sports Show. Bobby, have a great week, my man. Be good. Do the right things like they tell us to do.
That's right. Be good or be good at it. One or the other.
Absolutely. Friends, be nice to someone. You never know what they're going through. You're going to feel better as well afterwards. From deep in the heart of Texas, for Bobby, I'm Rodney. We'll catch you the next time around. It is the Revved Up Sports Show.